You know,
Okay, get past you.
all right, Ambo. All right, round of applause. They all left, but the people who are important are here now. These are the important.
Hi everybody, I'm Pambo. I presently live in Parsippany. I've been married a long time too to a very big Italian, very scary guy. If he was an animal, he'd be a grizzly bear. But the guy is a complete wuss when it comes to doctors and dentists, needles, and diagnostic procedures. Ironically, we met in a hospital. I'm a nurse, and I was a student nurse my senior year working at a local hospital. And he's a hunter, and he was in the woods, and a snare went into his eye. And he punctured a hole in his cornea. Did he go immediately for medical help? Of course he did. He waited 3 days until the blood was in his eyes and he was looking like this, like a cattle light right in his eye. So the doctor put him in the hospital. He wasn't allowed to move, and he had to wear bilateral eye patches because if you move one eye, you move the other eye. And this 25-year-old healthy male has to sit in the bed doing absolutely nothing for a couple of days for the blood to settle. So they said he had to feed this big guy. And he was so big he didn't fit in no hospital gown. And I remember feeding him lobster Newburg. You know, here comes the airplane, meow, etc. So I would catch him jumping out of bed and doing all sorts of things that he wasn't supposed to. And after a couple of days of this, he's looking at me with the googly eyes, look like Orphan Annie. And he goes, you know, I've been a pain in the ass. I'd like to make it up to you and take you out to dinner. And I'm standing there, and I'm like, well, I read his chart, and I knew he didn't have any communicable diseases. And I knew that he was really single. And he goes, are you still there? And that's when I realized he asked me out and he didn't know what I looked like. And that's why I went out with him. So we dated only a couple weeks and we got married. And we've been married 46 years. So God bless. We've been very healthy. We're what you call fit fatties. You know, our blood work is stellar, blood pressure is great. And, you know, we didn't have any medical procedures or anything. Had to drag him to the dentist every 6 months and, you know, get his checkups, etc. And as we're getting older, now things are starting to fall apart. So, about 3 weeks ago, and he hides stuff that's going on with him. You know, and he goes, I gotta tell you, he goes, I got a little blood in my urine. I'm a little afraid. It's all great. And he has no pain, just a sign of prostate cancer. So the doctor, he saw the doctor and he said, let's get a CAT scan. Well, he was a big wuss. I'm having a panic attack. He couldn't go through with a CAT scan. He said, well, we have to test it somehow to see if you got kidney cancer and prostate cancer. So we'll do a cystoscopy. Okay, so they tried to do a cystoscopy, and his prostate 7 times the size that it's supposed to be. So they really chewed him up to get the test done, but thank God everything's okay. So I brought him home. 4 hours later, he can't pee, and he's passing clots. So now I got to go to the hospital, or I get him. And I'm like, well, he can't pee. I got to go to the hospital. So we go to the hospital, and they try to put him on the stretcher. Now, his legs are sticking out of the stretcher, and he's so wide, he fits to the end of the stretcher. And there's no open beds there, so they couldn't admit him. So he's 23 hours on the stretcher. Okay, so then they had to put a catheter in him. So the young nurse did his catheter, but she put in a regular size one, so first that got clogged. So they had to take it out and they had to put another big one in. I mean, the biggest one they had. And I did feel bad for him, but part of me is like, I pushed out 9 and 10 pound babies and shouldn't be doing any sort of thing. I was like, oh, it hurts, right? Breathe, breathe, breathe while they're doing it, right? I mean, he's a complete wuss, right? So anyway, they get the IV. They apparently had to sit on him to get an IV in, and he's got a bottle of irrigation fluid in the other hole. And I went back home to get some sleep, and then I came back 4 hours later. He's still in the ER. And then I noticed he doesn't have an ID brand on, and the guy right next to him has the same name, Rich. And they're handing me antibiotics. I'm like, what antibiotic are you on? I don't know. You're allergic to penicillin. You know, it is not the wrong drug. You know, he gives up everything. So I said, well, I'd like to speak to the hospital administrator. And miraculously, after I said that, and they were going to come down to talk to me, he got a room. Miracle, right? So 4 days he was in the hospital. I'm going going back and forth, taking care of him, finally comes home. 2 weeks later, he has to go through the same process again. This time they gave him Dilaudid, so he went into La La Land before they put the catheter in. So anyway, now he's home and everything's fine. But is all you guys in Wuss? Are you all afraid of needles? I always found that as a nurse, it was always the big guys who were passing out on me. So anyway, thank you everybody and have a good day.
Great job, great job. Another big round of applause. We have to clap harder for the rest of us here. That's great. Thank you very much, very much. Great job. And I'm glad you're healthy. That's good. All right, Zach. All right, Zach. Welcome, Zach.
All right, thanks. Let's get this over with so you guys can go home and watch Matlock.